Hi everyone, welcome to Casual Watch Talk Sunday Social. We have a full panel today where we are going to talk about some of our own watches for a change instead of other people's watches, criticising them or finding dinky articles online. This should be a pretty fun one, but let us know your picks in the comments section as well, because if we have time at the end and we can pull up some pictures, we'll definitely share some of yours as well. So, well, should we kick it off with a wristwatch check? Dave, you're in the hot seat. What watch were you wearing?
I have got my GirardPerregaux Laureato Infinity.
Oh, awesome. Nice.
Black onyx dial. So, yep. That's what I've got on. I'm just actually remembering I hadn't set the date, so, I'm all about the accuracy and all that with watches.
With plus or minus 5 days.
Yeah, exactly. It's all good. Tell you the time-ish, somewhere in the world. But yes, that's what I'm wearing today.
Mark, what are you wearing?
I am wearing the Christopher Ward C63 Sealander Elite, the little titanium version of the Sealander. There you go.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I got to review the forged carbon one.
And I put this on after I was wearing the Speedy from last week. And I just went, where did the watch go? This Sealander is almost exactly half the weight of the Speedmaster. So this is 95 grams, and the Speedmaster is 185. And I'm thinking, wow. I used to be wearing a watch. Now it looks like I'm wearing a watch, but there's nothing here. It's like, I like a watch around 200 grams. That's pretty my sweet spot. 43 millimeters, 200 grams. I'm good.
Cool. Pete, what are you wearing?
I am wearing this, a little Seiko SPD something or other. Don't ask me. I don't know reference numbers. Turtle dialed, all blacked out, 6-arm movement, powered sort of dive watch. There's not much else to say.
I can see their bezel alignment's getting better. It's within 20 minutes of accurate now.
Yeah, well, that's my tip for young players. If you ever want to fix the alignment on your Seiko bezel, then use your bezel, and then it doesn't matter anymore.
Exactly.
If you're worried about the alignment on a Seiko diver, then what the hell are you doing buying a watch with a dive bezel, idiot?
Anyway, okay. Well, moving swiftly on. Bandrew, thank you so much for first time on the live stream. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. The watch on the wrist today is, I'm sure people will dislike it. I don't care. It's basic. It is the Pelagos 39.
Oh,
nice.
Yeah. No, I like it.
Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Very simple and understated. And it was very difficult having to switch from the 58 to this because the heft of it, as Mark was saying, it's kind of difficult. When you have a watch that's a bit on the lighter side, it feels a bit strange at first. But once you get used to it, it's awesome.
No, I'm a big fan of that. I got to see one like the day it came out in a AD, and yeah, I was a big fan. Wish it had the date on it, but there we go.
Yeah, same. I'm with you.
Todd, what are you wearing?
I decided to go back a little bit, and one of my favorite ones to play with, and it's the Citizen Nighthawk.
Oh yeah,
I love this watch. It's a great watch. The date is not set on it, just like Dave's. It's 5 days behind as well. So, but I do love this watch.
Yeah, and then I'm wearing actually what I've been wearing all week, which is my little metal square G-Shock there. So yeah, it's a good grab and go and quite light considering the weight of it. Okay, so let's just see who's saying no. Sam's saying video quality is limited to 7. Yeah, I haven't got the full version of StreamYard. And maybe if you got some more super you'd have to keep it down. But yeah, I think Sam was watching me on Bobby Legs' channel, and Bobby Legs has got the full HD version. So cool. Well, let's go round, and we've each got 3 watches. and we're going to talk a little bit about what we like about it, why we bought it. So, should we go back round in that order? Dave, do you wanna start with one of yours?
Apparently. What are we starting with?
What are you starting with?
This one. Oh, let's see if I can reach it. There we go.
Okay, what we got
My
here?
Joker.
Oh yeah.
This
Awesome.
is definitely one of my favourite watches of all of the watches I've got for many reasons. I think it's a little bit left field, it's a little bit abstract, and it makes me laugh every time I look at it, to be honest with you. I like the fact that the vast majority of people that see it just kind of shrug their shoulders as if it's an inexpensive watch, which kind of is good from a security point of view, but also it doesn't draw too much attention. And the fact that how I came across it, or how I got it, because I remember when they came out, because Chaikin is Russian, and because getting watches from Russia, well, it's impossible now, but back then it was difficult, and there was a kind of convoluted route by which I came to it via a friend of mine who has been representing him, well, was representing up to a point as well. So yeah, I just love it. It's just a great watch, and every time anyone who is into watches does see it, they do know where it is. The average Joe has no idea, but when someone is into watches knows where it is, it's always a conversation starter, which is always a good thing.
Awesome. Yeah, I've never seen one of them in person.
Yeah, there's the detail on them is pretty amazing when you look at the amount of the guilloche on there, and it's a very specific guilloche pattern that's specific to that watch as well that he kind of developed. He's a pretty clever watchmaker, it has to be said.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Any questions about that from the panel, or we'll go to Mark?
No, I think it'd be fair to say Dave got in on Chaikin like right at the very, very beginning. In fact, I think I have a suspicion Dave was actually not part of the success, but was part of that initial first wave of Chaikins hitting the social media. I can't remember anyone else wearing one before you, Dave.
No, I wouldn't. Yeah, it was pretty early, to be fair. Probably within the first 6 months, something like that, of there being any kind of noise about him at all. But it was, to be honest, as much as anything, it was I saw a picture of it and I thought, oh, that looks quite interesting. That looks a bit funky, a wee bit different, and that was what kind of drove me to sniff around it. It wasn't about the individual or anything initially, anyway. But then the more you get to know what Chaikin is capable of, he's arguably one of the best watchmakers in the world at the moment.
Yeah,
certainly the most innovative.
Awesome, cool. Okay. Well, Mark, we'll go to you next. What's your first watch? I also have some photos as well, so let me know if you need me to pull up a.
So let me know if this comes through or not.
Hey,
got it.
This is about as close as I get to vintage. This is a Citizen D060 from the mid-1990s, known as the Windsurfer. This is the second one of these that I've had. I had one in the mid-1990s, and I lost it in the Royal Opera House in Covent Garden in London. I was a student at the time, and you could actually get pretty decent discounts for the opera. If you bought 2 or 3 tickets, or you had a couple of people who were interested, and you could get some decent discounts. And remember, this is 30-something years ago as well. So went there, and I forget what it was we saw, but I'd left the chime on my Citizen, and the last thing you want is a Citizen digital watch going beep beep at about 1 minute into the introduction to whatever you're seeing. Yeah, I don't think I was sober that night. That's probably part of why it happened. So I took the watch off, and I thought I'd put it in the pocket of my coat, and never found it again. It just evaporated. So, but no, we didn't hear the sound. So wherever that watch went, it was pretty soundproof, but we never found it. So, go back to whatever watch you were wearing, counted as a watch lost. And then it's occurred to me a couple of years ago, I'd really like to see that watch again. So I hunted around for it and found one that was in decent nick. It's not new old stock. If you look at the back, you can probably see that a couple of the screws have been damaged, but it's got, or maybe you will, maybe you won't. It's still got some of the authenticity stickers on it. It's clearly been looked after. So it was just nice to have something that I haven't worn for 30 years. I'm not really into vintage. I don't normally buy vintage watches. Anything I've got that's more than 10, 12 years old, I've inherited. So that's as close as I get to vintage, and it's a sufficiently unusual design to just say I wanted it back, and eventually I got it back.
Wow. Yeah.
What more can you say?
So what makes that a windsurfer watch?
It's known as a windsurfer. It's called a windsurfer. If you look at the strap, it's got wind velocity on it.
Decompression.
But yeah, what makes it a windsurfer? I've got no idea. It's just hubris on the part of Citizen. But hey, let's be perfectly honest. I mean, at the time, I had a windsurfing license, so but that's got nothing to do with the watch, I suspect. I had my Royal Yacht Club license at the time, but it was called a windsurfer. Everyone knows it as a windsurfer, but it's one of those quietly forgotten Citizens, just as there are quietly forgotten Casios. The couple of $100 I paid for that, the Casio that I had when I was in high school would cost me $500 or $600 as new old stock, and that's just not going to happen.
Wow, yeah.
A Casio AE11W, which I wore all the way through high school. You can find them, but they're $600. That ain't going to happen. But the Citizen, I'm fine with.
Yeah.
It's a really good looking watch.
It is. Yeah. It's unusual. It has if Sam can pull up the picture, has that 3-color LCD that scrolls around. So you've got a red, green, and blue LCD panel, which is one of the things that fails.
Yeah.
But it works on this one. Oh, F it, I'll put the watch back up.
Yeah, sorry.
This is probably
I've got the pictures that were in the WhatsApp, but I forgot to get the one. Yeah, there you go. You get a really good view of it there.
So you can see the LCD.
Yeah.
And then you've got the 5-second counter, which acts as a 1/10 of a second counter when it's a stopwatch. It's got all the toys. It's just the kind of thing that a science student wanted in the mid-90s. Because it's got all the toys on it.
Oh, that's awesome. Cool. Just before we move on to Pete, Muhammad Ali, thank you for the very generous super chat. Thank you very much. Great show, guys. Thank you.
1080p next week, Sam. 1080p next week.
That's right. He wants you to upgrade.
He clearly hasn't seen me close up. He doesn't want to upgrade that and make that clearer.
So Pete, you're up. What's
okay? So
this
is my watch, which I'm going to show. So this is just following on from Mark's vintage. This is a 1933 Alpena Block ER. So why have I got this watch, which is absolutely massive, clearly for watch. So there you go. Yeah, for my 8-inch wrists, I need a bigger watch, so I decided to stretch it and went to 29 millimeters. So why have I got this? So why have I got this watch? Okay, so number one, brands are important to me. I sort of align with brands. One of the brands.
I think the radium might be setting off your.
Yeah, I know. I've just been checking like my internet speed. It seems to be okay, but it does seem to be coming and going. So really quickly, in case I get shut down again, I'm into brands. I like Alpena. It's a brand I kind of align with. I collect them. Alpena as a brand has a number of kind of phases. In the early days, they were they were just like every other watch company, making watches that came from whatever their suppliers could sell them. In the 1940s and 50s, they were one of the pioneers of what they call the sports watch. The watch that linked those two moves, going from just a plain old everyday watchmaker to a maker of sports watches, was the Block ER. That was a watch they released in 1933, where they sat down with their partners and said, we need something more shockproof. We need something more water resistant. What can you do for us? And this is what came out of it. So this is a watch. I'm a watch collector. I like to have a collection of watches which altogether sort of follow themes and sort of hang together as a group. And this is a watch I picked up because it's kind of a linchpin in one of those collections. It marks the move from a watch company, from one kind of watch company to another. And so that's why I've got this one.
Awesome. No, thanks for that, Pete. Cool. Andrew, you're up next. What's your first watch?
Alrighty, the first watch I have is the Casio DBC 610.
Oh, yeah.
Not to be confused with a calculator watch because it is a data bank, but it can also function as a calculator, and it is gold because I was graduating from my master's program in finance, and I thought, what more fitting to wear than a gold calculator-esque watch, and I wore this through my first job at a bank as well.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely love this thing, and yeah, this is a perfect example of why this type of plating, just if you want a watch to look good for a long period, may not be the best choice because it just wears right off on one of these things, but still holds plenty of sentimental value, and it's still plenty of fun to wear, even though the mode doesn't work because I somehow busted that when changing the battery.
Yeah, you can still buy those new, can't you? Don't they sell those? Is that a model you still make?
I think they make something very similar to this. I don't think it's the same model as the data bank. It may just be a straight calculator, but maybe you're right.
Yeah, you can still.
Oh, there we go.
Oh,
look at that.
You can get a stainless steel one, and you can get a plastic resin one.
very nice.
I picked these up a couple of years ago now, to be fair, but I think these were like Amazon purchases, and they were buttons cheap. I think these were like 30 quid each in the UK, something like that. In fact, the resin one, the black resin one, I think was maybe like not even 20 quid. I think it was like £18 something in the UK. And actually, batteries never been replaced. I barely wear them, but the metal one's really cool.
Yeah, they're super fun, and we
Yours
can
has got a
say
different bracelet, I think.
What's that?
Yours has got a different bracelet.
Yeah, this is a different bracelet. This is more in line with a modern. Oh gosh, which one is it? I can't remember. There's some modern calculator versions that have the same bracelet.
Yeah.
And you could say that it's just to be ironic, but we all know it's because we're actually huge nerds.
Yeah.
We just need to come to terms with it.
Yeah.
These ones are DBC 32s, both of them.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that's the most recent or relatively recent model of them, but they're great fun for the money.
Yeah, absolute joy.
I love it. I've always wanted to buy one back. I did have one of the calculator ones, and I've always wanted to buy one back, but I know I wouldn't wear it, so I don't. Maybe leave it. But that's such a cool pick. Yeah, it's a real cool one.
Thank you.
Todd, what's your first one?
I don't know which one you've got in the queue for me. I sent you the pictures, so.
Do you want me to add this one?
All right, we'll go with that. We'll start with that one, and it's a boring choice, I know, but why I wanted this watch? Well, I still do have the Black Bay 36 in blue. Love that watch, and it was like my everyday for a while. But Sam, you kind of got to me when you had that Rolex 41, and I was like, I kind of want to try this watch in the 41, and I love sort of the simplicity of a Rolex Oyster Perpetual, and to what Pete said, I could liquidate a large portion of my collection and get a Rolex, but I'm a collector, and I like to have options, and I like to play, and I like to be able to go between them. And then what happened with this one in particular is this year, when they decided to go in-house movement, I wanted that the ETA / Solita movement. And so I went on a scramble to liquidate some watches and be able to acquire this one before they were disappearing off the market, because I love the look of it, but I also love the idea of having that workhorse movement that I can take to my local watchmaker and have serviced in the future, as opposed to an in-house movement. So I love this thing. It is every day. You can wear it with a suit. You can go do activities outdoors with it, with 150 meters of water resistance. It's a perfect do anything, go anywhere watch, and I love it.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, cool watch.
Yeah, it's a really cool watch. Yeah, great pick. Yeah, good pick. Okay, so I'll go next, but before we do that, we had Bill, who says 2 of my best are the Alpena flyback column wheel chronograph and the Jean Richard 1681. Cool. And then Yunus Imam says, my best watch, G-Shock Rangeman Orient Bambino, near perfect watches for me. Yeah, got definitely 2 completely different ones there, 2 different vibes there for sure. I will go with, let me just, I'll put myself on solo. So I'll go with my 6139 Speedtimer from 1973. This is one that came in new last year to me from Todd, who's not joining us on the panel today, but it was refurbished by a Seiko restorer. So a really cool vintage watch. The first real vintage watch that I've bought. I always wanted to get into vintage Seiko, but I was always a little bit worried about like the price point, what I was buying and everything. But Todd kind of stepped me all through it on an Uncle Seiko bracelet. But yeah, really cool, nice size as well. It's a very contemporary size. It's not tiny at all. It's got the inner rotating bezel works. The date function works. The date on this is pretty cool because you actually push the crown in to advance the day and date. I don't know why there must have been a problem that they never used this again, because I don't think it's on any modern Seikos, but you push the crown in to advance the day and date. But yeah, really cool, in absolute fantastic condition. Todd, this is actually 3 watches they cannibalize like Adam Levine's Daytonas. Get like the full, to get like a full Seiko out of it. But yeah, they did a really good job on it, and the Seiko restorer did an awesome job of it. I'll leave his details in, although he's, as with everyone, he's completely flooded with work at the moment. And John Sachs, he's flooded with work at the moment. I've even sent him another one. But yeah, my first foray into the vintage Seikos. It's my Speedtimer, and I went with the. I didn't go with the gold, the Pogue. I went with this. It's like a subtle blue. Awesome. There we go. Okay, Dave, we're back round to you. What's your next one?
So my next one is actually relatively recent. That's a tongue twister, which is a GirardPerregaux Casket II, which is this little boy, which is a digital display, quartz digital. So I guess it's not high horology in any sense that way, but beautifully made little piece. And this one is because I remember when they launched it, and I said, that's a cool watch. Being a child of the early 70s, I like anything 70s orientated. And I was like, yeah, I'm all about this. I love that watch. And then I completely forgot all about it, as you do. And they all came in and they all sold out, and I completely forgot about it. And then remembered about 5 or 6 weeks after they released that I wanted one, and thought, oh, that was a bit of a mistake, wasn't it? So basically chalked it up to fine, missed it, never going to see one again. Fast forward a year, probably, something like that. Maybe, in fact, fast forward to just before Christmas last year, so it was probably a bit more than a year since they launched it. And I got a random message on my Instagram into my DMs, and it was from someone that I'd met years ago in the US, and they said, "Are you still after a casket?" And I was like, okay, where's this going? And he said, I had my name down at a jeweller's in the US, and they've just phoned me to say it's arrived, but I don't want it anymore. Do you want it? And I was like, yes, please, thank you very much. They me up with that jeweller's, and that jeweller's took care of everything, even to the point where the US price was the same as the UK price, but obviously if it was shipped from the US to the UK, I was going to get stung for 20% VAT and duty as it arrived into the UK, which was going to make it somewhat more expensive than retail, which I was kind of willing to deal with because I wanted it anyway. But I thought I'll be cheeky and ask the question, and they did me a deal whereby when it came in and I paid my VAT and duty, I paid the same price as retail in the UK. So David was a happy boy that day as well, and it arrived in time for Christmas. So it was a Christmas present to myself for 2022 of something that I completely forgot about and therefore shouldn't actually have one, but somebody heard and remembered that I wanted one, decided they didn't want theirs, and I got it. So it kind of makes it a bit more special as well. And the kind of retailer went way out their way as well to accommodate me, which they didn't have to because they could probably have sold it all day long easily in the States and made full money on it, but they went out their way to do it. So yeah, pretty cool. And it's a great watch. It's an amazing size. It wears so well. It's completely and utterly useless, a bit like the Joker, because it's a driver's watch that you have to take all your hands off the steering wheel in order to press the But, 1970s, rules around seatbelts and safety in cars was a bit liberal in the 70s, so the watch is a bit like that, so it's all good. So it's not a problem. So yeah, really love it. It's a cool piece.
I think it's designed to be used by the model that you have, like with her arms like jammed next to you, with her arms draped around your shoulder.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, she reaches over and hits it. No.
I never have and never will describe Ricky as a model, and he's definitely not my model. And if he ever puts his arm around me, there will be a crash anyway.
I thought you'd say if he ever actually only puts his arm around your shoulders, you'll be happy that day.
If he puts his arm around my shoulder, I'll think, okay, things could be worse, much worse.
Okay, we don't need to spend enough of watch drama going on. We don't need to.
But yeah, I think they've actually just released a second edition of it, which I think is the Yves Saint Laurent. I think it's just called the Saint Laurent, isn't it? They've done a collab with Saint Laurent, which is actually really nice. Basically, it's the same, but where you've got this little titanium logo and the titanium case back and the titanium clasp, they've made those treated with a black kind of coating on it so that it's all black and a bit stealthier. I have to say, actually, I'm glad I got this one because I prefer it with the kind of the clasp in silver and the little silver highlights on it. So it's good. Yeah, cool watch though.
Okay, Mark, you're up next.
Darth Vader.
You've got?
So I shall go back to the watch I was wearing last week. The Speedmaster Mark II 2014 re-edition racing dial. So this was my first Omega, and before people want to know why it's so damn heavy, it's a monster. It doesn't look its true size, but it's a monster. It's thick, it's stainless steel, it's bulky, it's blocky, it hides all of that with that 1970s case design. But this was my first Omega. I knew I was going to be an Omega owner because my father had an Omega ever since I was a kid. So the only watch I really saw was his Omega Genève. So I knew as I grew up, I had that in mind. I always thought the first one was going to be the Seamaster, one of the Seamasters, but I had a good year. The money came together. I walked into the mall and was going to buy a Seamaster, but this was sitting in the window, and you can't say no. You just can't say no.
What's that big boy weigh?
This one sized for me is 185 grams.
Crazy.
Oh, wow.
So still a bit light for you because you want 200, right?
Well, it sort of rounds to, but yeah, I think
he was younger then, not as strong.
Yeah, the heaviest omega I have is a Seamaster chronograph GMT, which is something like 240 grams. So this is a compromise.
You got to buy 2 of those so your arms develop equally. You can't just walk around with one.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, being right-handed, right hand is naturally stronger, so this helps the left hand.
Fair enough.
Bulk up. Yeah. So, but you just have to. There's no way you can turn this down. If you see this in a window and you know you've got the budget, why would you walk past it? You just have to buy this. Or I just have to buy this anyway. You just have to buy the Speedmaster Mark II.
Yeah, I reckon the Mark II is the best looking of all the Speedies. If one day I will have a Speedy, it will be a Mark II.
Well, it's the great side of the moon with the meteorite dial.
Wash your mouth out with soap, Pete.
You're absolutely right. I need to mark myself out and not run with the herd and get a Speedy Pro.
I would go for, what did I see? Speedmaster Teutonia. Probably that's a very good looking Speedmaster. The thing is that everyone thinks of the Speedmaster. They think of the Moonwatch or the Speedmaster Professional, but that's the boring one. You know, other than the Alaska project, that's the boring one. You've got the Mark II, then you've got the Mark IV, the Mark 4.5, the Teutonia. All of these are more interesting and exciting Speedmasters than the Moonwatch.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, the Moonwatch is the most significant, but it's the boring one. Please get some, look at the exciting ones. See, much more exciting. See, it's
like a sales rep right now.
The thing is, they don't make that anymore. When that came out, it was terribly unpopular. That was never a popular watch. The example that Pete used to give was the Tokyo. They introduced a Mark II for the Rio for 2016, the Rio Olympics. It was still on Omega's website this year till those models sold out. The Mark II was never a popular watch, but it's great. So that's why I have it. I just could not resist it.
No, great pick. And Mark, whatever you do, don't move. Because
my chair rattles, I get it. Yep.
You're getting a little bit of microphone feedback, but then it went. So cool. Pete, you're up next. No more Radium watches thrown off your camera, if possible.
No, terribly sorry. This is borderline a Radium watch. Okay, so following a theme, not deliberately, but sort of following a theme that the other guys have set: 1970s watches and chronographs. So this is. Don't ask me the reference. It's a Breitling, I'm going to say something like 2112 or 2115, something like that. So it is an automatic chronograph from that original suite, that original trio of chronographs produced with Hamilton Buren, Tag, and Breitling. So it's a 1960. This one's a little bit later, so it's a 1970s automatic, 1970 auto chronograph. I love it for a couple of reasons. One, it's just 1970s funkiness. It's like they took every single component and moved it around. So the date is at like 6:30. The normal 9 o'clock register is at like 10, and nothing's the same size, and it's just really funky, and I love that about it. I also wanted to buy it because it's kind of a challenge to me. I looked down at my collection and I thought I've been playing it a little safe. So I thought I would go with a movement that could explode at any moment. Federico did a piece, one of his videos, where he said, under no circumstances ever buy watches with this particular movement. It's a complete disaster and your watchmaker will hate you, which, of course, was chum in the water for me. So I absolutely positively had to buy it. Yeah, challenge accepted. So I've had it for about 6 months now. Just to muck around, I broke out the time grapher and put it on. It runs at like the worst result I've got is plus or minus 2 seconds a day. So it runs amazingly well. The chronograph works fine. I think one of the reasons why I do feel a little bit comfortable wearing it is it's clearly not going to be a daily driver. My watch collection is like 50 something watches. So in some kind of rotation, it's only got to survive one day every, say, month and a half to 2 months.
Wow.
And so that's why I've got it.
That orange is really vivid. It's not been repainted or anything. That's incredible.
Oh, guarantee it has been. I mean, this is the point that I was kind of making the other day. If you wanted to get one of these, a 1970s Breitling chronograph or an earlier one, a specific one I was looking at. So take an 819. So that's one of the original. Oh, sorry, it's the second generation chrono 24-hour versions of the Navitimer. So it's kind of like the Scott Carpenter version. If you want to get one of those all original with some kind of papers or something, 30,000 Australian dollars. Yeah. If you want to get one that's been molested, it's going to be down around 6 to 9, depending on condition. But that means you're getting a replacement dial or you're getting replacement hands or something like that. So for me, I just go, well, it's a no-brainer. I can either spend far more money for something which is original but doesn't look as good, work as good, isn't as easy to use, or I can save myself $21,000, $22,000 and get a better-looking watch. And that's why that's sort of that idea, and owning watches like that and being able to enjoy vintage watches is why I kind of don't like the way that Eric Wind and Periscope do vintage, because they sort of get in the way of people truly enjoying vintage.
Yeah, that's a good point. Cool. Thanks for that, Pete. Bandrew, you're up next. What's your second watch?
All right. So it's nothing 1/100th as interesting as Pete's. This is very basic, but this is the Hamilton Khaki Mechanical. And the reason why this one is important to me is this was the real gateway for me. This is what got me into mechanical watches. And I got this around May 2020. And it was me seeking a reminder to slow down and unplug for a minute. So every morning I would wake up, not look at the news, sit down and wind the watch while I drank a cup of coffee and just be in the moment. So this was that gateway into mechanical watches, but also a really important mental health talisman, for lack of a better word, around a very chaotic time. So that's why this is my second most important. I know it's not the most interesting, but it has some history behind it. So many people have it, and it's just an all-around great watch that wears well and, for me, has some importance.
Yeah, no, they're absolutely great, aren't they? They're a great first mechanical watch, aren't you? Almost hit on the perfect one there. They always say that about the Hamilton Khaki or Khaki. No, I like that one. Yeah, no, that's a great one. The NATO or nylon fabric strap has held up really well on that.
Yeah, it's very good. Works well for me. No complaints whatsoever. And if I had a slightly smaller wrist, it would be a very funky fit because the end of this would stick out way too far.
Oh, yeah.
So it is just the perfect length for my wrist. So I could see some people hating the strap that's on this if they have a smaller wrist, but for me, works perfectly.
That's really cool.
Nice piece.
Really cool.
Thanks.
Todd, you're up next, and I will add the photo. There we go.
Yeah. This watch. So I was kind of interested in Christopher Ward before I got this watch, but I was also in the camp of everybody who was going, oh, I don't want that watch with that guy's name on it. It feels like a department store brand. And I kind of felt that. But when they released this watch, it was like, love at first sight on the website. I was like, I am buying that watch immediately. did everything I had to make sure I could acquire that watch when it was released. And it is going to be a permanent part of my collection. It is just perfect in almost every way. The light catcher case, the bracelet on it is as good as a $4,000 or $5,000 watch, like we were talking about before, Sam. Like every level of it. And on top of it, it's an absolute strap monster. This box that I have over here on my watchmaker, this is all just straps for that watch, and they all work on that watch.
Well, that
watch is
an layout there. That deserves wow.
That watch is an absolute strap monster, and I have tried every strap, and they all look awesome on it. So this is like the strap box for that one. When I want to like change it up and mix it up, I pull from this box, and it works every time. So yeah, like I love that watch.
Yeah, that I got my hands on the first Christopher Ward GMT this week, the Dragonfly one, and yeah, I remember I was blown away by it. It really just an iconic watch, a future iconic watch for them, I think.
That and the Salida movement that they put in that one, it's like the 330. I don't know if it's the -2 or whatever. It just like butter. Like when you wind it, it's like you have to like, is it actually winding? You know, you almost don't even feel it. It's just everything about it is so premium. I just love that watch.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of it.
Yeah.
After seeing it this week. Cool. Dave, your last one. You're the last one of the three.
Oh, here we go. Right. So this is my last. What's way up to right?
Here, drum roll here. Oh,
is
man.
my
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Dave wins. That's it. We're done. Good night, everybody.
So, this
Beautiful.
is the Speedmaster 50th anniversary Moonshine Gold. And the reason that this one's quite special to me, aside from the fact that I basically almost bankrupted myself to buy it, was that I said no initially when I was offered it. Now, I was in a lucky position where I was offered one. They only made 1,012. 1,012 is how many they made, which was the same number as the original. And they released it in 2019 for the 50th anniversary of the Apollo landings. And as I say, I got offered one, and I don't do gold watches. I like... There's like, you know, when you fill those forms in that says what's your background and stuff like that. There's not a category for me. I'm Casper the Ghost. I'm not even white. I'm see-through. So I kind of was like, gold watches on me make me look like a gold top milk bottle. It's just not a good look. And I was like, do you know what? Thank you, love it, but no. And then spent the rest of that day going, oh, why did I do that? That was really stupid. Why did I say no? And then phoned back and said, maybe it might. And the guy burst out laughing and said, I knew you were going to phone me back, so of course I haven't offered it to anyone else, so it's yours if you want it. And it's turned into one of the watches that it will, unless, I guess, you know, push comes to shove, family emergencies or whatever, that you really have to sell it, that will be one of the last watches that ever leaves my collection. It's just so bloody good. That Moonshine Gold, you have to see it against like a gold watch, a yellow gold watch, to understand the kind of colour of it. It's definitely, there's no two ways about it, it's yellow. But when you see it against a yellow gold watch, it's pretty special. And it's the movement, it's a gold movement in there as well. So,
oh yeah, there we go.
See if it focuses. There you go. It's a gold movement in there. And it's got a little bit on, I don't know if I can see it. Let me see if I can find where it is. Yeah, just here. I don't know if it'll focus, but just at the end of my finger there, there's a little relief of the moon, which is a tiny piece of dust that NASA gave them that was retrieved from the moon missions that they've used to create the moon on there as well. So it's a pretty special piece. And I feel somewhat proud of myself now in that after a few years and 5 price rises every year, it's somewhat of a bargain now. It was never really a bargain, but compared to what they want for the equivalent nowadays, it's definitely a bargain. But yeah, it's one of those ones that I look at and I think I'm a pretty lucky boy to have this every time I look at it.
Yeah, I did see one in person. I went to a watch event and a guy was wearing it and he was like, oh, look at this here. And then he's like, oh, you'll have to see the back. And we were sort of handing the watches round, so we were expecting to hand him round, but he didn't. He was like, "Look at the back here." He held it.
Yeah.
Look at the back there. It's like, shoo. Stay away.
Yeah, I guess it takes all sorts, but as I say, it's like, I think, is it the only gold watch I think it is. It's certainly the only all gold watch that I have, and it probably will remain the only all gold watch that I have. Certainly yellow gold. I'm not a fan of two-tone either, so it's a bit of a left field thing in my collection, but it's so nicely put together.
Yeah. I think we tend to get a bit cynical about like people that name metals like what is it? I can't remember what Rolex call their steel and
Rollersaur or
but I think with the Omega golds, like the Moonshine gold and the Sedna gold, they are different. Dave's exactly right. You see them next to other gold watches, and they're different.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, and
I was lucky enough at Omega they've got, like, obviously they make they do their golds in Switzerland because they're all Swiss hallmarked as well, and they were quite open about what they put into them, and they do put, as much as a lot of people knock a lot of the brands, they do put quite a lot of work into their own gold blends. They're not just take any other gold that's the same as everyone else's and call it something for the sake of marketing. They are actually genuinely different products in terms of the materials they mix into them. And certainly with Moonshine, the colour is just, it softens enough that it's no longer like 1980s stockbroker.
Yeah, that's really cool. So Lucy from Watchbox Diaries was going to join us, but she couldn't make it. But she's still commenting in. So she said, "Is Dave reporting from his childhood bedroom?" But also the watch is incredible.
It's not my childhood bedroom, but am I a child? 100% I'm still a child.
And then she's also asking, "Is there an alarm going off?" We are getting a little bit of feedback from Mark, so we apologise. We'll sort it for next week. It's my fault because I made Mark change his microphone right before we started, which is never a good thing. So I apologise about that. But Mark, I'll take you off mute. What's your third and final?
Well, we'll go with a watch that I don't think will leave my collection. This is, as this is Christopher Ward Talks or Christopher Ward Reviews, it would be a shame not to only have one. So this was my first Christopher Ward. This is a Christopher Ward C60 Trident Pro Mark II SH21 limited edition, which is quite a mouthful. It's the second generation of the Christopher Ward Trident. It's 600 meter water resistance, and it's the second watch that they made that had the SH21 movement. And in keeping, this is another big boy. Yeah. This is for everyone. This is definitely over 200 grams, and it's lovely. Why did I buy it? The first proper watch I owned was an Oris Aquis, which I still have. Then I was looking around and saw an advert for this, and I do like a black and white watch, apparently. So I bought it. If you've ever followed Christopher Ward sales, quite a few of their limited editions sell very badly.
Yeah.
There are some of them that will hang on for years. There was one they called the Aldea that I think they didn't sell out for 5 or 6 years. This one took four and a bit years and several price decreases to sell, simply because no one at the time knew why you should pay £2,000 for a Christopher Ward, and this is back in 2015. So the SH21 cost a fortune. Nobody understood why they had it. In-house movements were not popular. No one knew why you should have an in-house movement. Design-wise, it's a little bit gothic. Now you look at it with the onion hand, and I know Pete hates the hands on this watch. He said so before. It was this or something very similar to it he hates. The indices are very slim. This is definitely, even though it's only 10 years old, you can see how modern watch design has changed So the slim indices, the proportions are all very, very different now to what they would be on a modern dive watch, on dive watch from 2023. But I like it. It's one of the 2 or 3 Christopher Wards that I wouldn't sell. There'd be this one, my Moon Phase, and the C7 Apex. The rest I'd sell, but those 3 I would keep.
Awesome. No, thanks for that, Mark.
I had that in the Mark III, and I moved it on to get something else, and I still regret not having that watch in my collection. It's a beautiful watch.
Cool. Awesome. Mark, we'll put you back on the audio naughty step. Thank you. Pete,
okay.
Your third and final.
So my third and final is the JLC Polaris green dial. So why have I got this? I love JLC. They're a watchmaker I wanted to have a watch from, but JLC's design languages don't often... It is a little bit formal, a little bit conservative, a little bit dull, let's be honest. Yeah. So it's in this weird bind of I want to buy a watch from them, but they don't actually sell anything I want to buy. And then they brought out the Polaris, which was so close. It was almost, but not quite. And I found myself, and then they brought out the blue gradient dial version of that, which was special edition and sold out like super fast. Yeah. And I thought, you know what? If they've done it once, they'll do it again. There will be some other kind. It's like Seiko, like people don't like all the Seiko limited editions, but the thing is, because they're so regular, you can plan for them. And so with this case, what I did was I thought to myself, they're going to have another one. And so sure enough, it came out the next morning. I was down at the boutique asking if I could have when they thought they'd get one in. They actually had one in. And then I just was smitten. I saw it, I put it on my wrist, and I said, please tell me that I have to order this because I want it and I do not have the money for it. And they said, good news, sir. It's going to be at least a 9-month wait list. So you've got 9 months to save up the cash. And so that's what I did. Richemont have I'm going to say, a real luxury experience when it comes to these sorts of watches. There's no games, there's no guessing. You just pay your deposit and then they allocate you a slot in the production. And so I waited my 9 month. They were within 3 days, I think, of their estimated delivery. And the other good thing was, in the meantime, between my ordering it, which I could just barely afford, and the time I picked it up, it had gone through 2 price rises, but because of how I'd ordered it, I only had to pay the original price. So it was weird walking in and buying from a boutique a waitlisted watch that was now selling for $17,900 and only paying $13,000 for it.
Yeah, I love that watch, but the prices they've gone wild, haven't they, recently?
I couldn't bring myself to buy it now at the new price. Yeah. It's a little bit like Dave was saying before, like when you've bought a watch, but then you watch its price run away from you, you sort of get in this strange position of, I could sell it and make some money, but I don't know if I could ever get it back. So it's weird. It's kind of like a golden handcuff. It's not leaving my collection because if it did, it's never coming back. And it's absolutely stunningly gorgeous.
Yeah, it is. It is. I'd love to see one of those in person, but I like the original Polaris. But you're right, though, they only had one. They had one without the date, then one with the date. That one's got the date, hasn't it? So,
let me check. Yes. I hope it's the 11th somewhere. I never set dates. Dates are just wasted on me.
Other than GMT, it's the most important complication. I'll go to bat. Okay, Bandrew, what's your third and final? Oh.
I'm going to back you up there. The date is the most important function on a watch. Yay. Other than the time. I love them. My third and final watch is the 14270, and This isn't one that I bought, and that's what makes it is my dad's old watch. And the reason why I enjoy this one so much is I didn't know he had this, and when he learned that I had gotten into watches, we would just stay up and look at different watch websites and say, look how silly this one looks, or this one looks great. And then for one of my birthdays, I ended up getting a package in the mail, and this is what was in it. And this is one that he had for 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Now, I did actually get the dial replaced. I know that'll drive some people crazy. I got the original back, though. So I still have that, because I wouldn't have done it had I not been able to get it back. But now it is a fully functional, fully serviced, ready to wear every single day. No issues. So
Perfect.
I absolutely love this thing because sentimental reasons again.
Yep.
If I had to
Nice.
pay for it, I don't know if I would have been able to. Well, I know I wouldn't have been able to, and I don't know if I would have because the prices of them are just nuts. Yeah, Periscope may not approve. I don't care. I'm not selling it, so he can disapprove all he wants. It's in my collection, and I want to be able to use the watch day or night, and I want to make sure that the loom isn't going to fall out because the loom fell out on the hands. I want to make sure it's not going to chip up and get in the movement or anything. So
Yeah,
I don't care if somebody disapproves.
It's your watch. It's your
More
watch.
power
You
to
enjoy
him.
it.
the perfect boring watch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Awesome. And then Jack saying, "Yay, Explorer plus Heritage piece." Thanks for joining us, Jack. Thanks for the nice email in the week as well. Okay, so yeah, that was a great one. That was a great. I actually, it's the other way around for me. I send my dad watches. I've got that. He loves the Casio, that Pro Trek I recently reviewed. He's got. I'm saving that for when he comes over, and then I've also sent him the Mondain, the railway timer watch. He really liked that, and I managed to get one of those in for review. So I sent him that one. Although that's the only watch that I would recommend you bought the quartz version, not the automatic. But that's a.
Are you going to send him your blingy Citizen that you just reviewed as well?
Oh yeah, I had to send that back to Citizen. No, I wasn't.
Oh darn!
No, I'm not on. Yeah, Citizen are. I have to send the Citizens back. Yeah, Casio.
Oh, okay.
Oh, actually, maybe I'm starting a bit of watch drama here. Casio, they send me watches in for review, but I actually love the Citizen watch, so I don't mind. Todd, I need to. Is it the Black Bay 58? Your next one?
No, it's not. It's the Black Bay Heritage 41. Yes, that's the one in the queue you've got there.
Okay.
That's it. So this one again, I've said numerous times on this channel, I'm a huge Tudor fan, and this is the original Big Boy. It's like 185 grams, I think, Mark. So you'd approve, except no date on it. I got this one. It was funny. I was in a group. This is a couple years ago, and I had and this is going to upset Dave and Mark probably because I had a 1990 Speedmaster, the smaller size, like a 39 millimeter, and it was just a little delicate. And I had just had it serviced, and I just never wore it because I was afraid of how delicate it was. And I was like, why do I have this really nice watch just sitting here? And so I went into this one watch group and said, hey, is anybody interested in making a trade for a Tudor Black Bay for the Speedmaster? And a bunch of people laughed at me. But one guy was like, I like that trade, and I had to put a couple extra, a few dollars back to him with it. But once I got this, I was like, man, I love this. It's heavy, but it sits on the wrist so perfectly that after a while, once you put it on, you forget that it's a big watch. Very comfortable. And I even got to experience the bezel popped off. Really funny because I like to sleep in my watches. Popped off at night while I was sleeping, and it was only a year and a half old when I got it from the guy, but I bought it secondhand through a Facebook group, and I'm like, boy, is this actually going to work? Is the Tudor AD, my local AD, going to help me? I took it up there. They bagged it up. A couple months later, I got this watch back, and now it's like plus minus 2 seconds. The bezel's beautiful, and they treated me like I had bought it right there at the dealership. So, I mean, it was like a great experience. And it made me just an even bigger fan of the Tudor product. Now, I am nervous because it is an in-house movement, but we'll see what that day looks like one day when I do have to get that serviced and what that's going to cost me. But it's a beautiful movement, a beautiful watch.
Yeah. I got stainless bezel, hasn't it? The non bezel. That's how you
It looks just like it from that perspective, but you go sideways and you see that 14 millimeter thickness.
Yeah.
Todd, I'll report to you because my 58 is currently getting serviced by Rolex, so I'll let you know what to expect in terms of cost.
Very curious, yeah, how bad that's gonna hurt.
Yeah, I'm not excited.
Awesome. Well, I forgot I didn't do myself the last round. So my two are basically, and I've got full reviews on the channel. So if you want to know my full opinion, let me just go full screen. Oh, first of all, Thomas, thank you very much for the very generous super chat. Quick question for the panel. When you're finished, which watch would you love to add to the collection? Great stream, fellas. I'll have to catch up the beginning. So which watch would you love to add to the collection? I tell you what, I'll do mine very quickly. So mine is I'll just go full screen on that. I'll rattle through these quick. So my green Sumo, this is the quartz Seiko Sumo. It's a bigger watch, but I just love the way it wears, the balance. I actually hated the bracelet when I first got it, but it's really grown on me. And I can't put an aftermarket bracelet on because this Sumo case is slightly different. But love the. I wanted a GMT. It's pretty useless as a GMT because the numbers are so tiny. I think it should have a GMT bezel, but there we go. But yeah, I actually like it a lot more than the Grand Seiko that I got. But more on that when I do the video. And then my final one, of course, is my much loved Rolex Datejust, and I actually like this a lot more. And it hurt to say for this, and it was a lot of money for me, but. It's a lot of money for anyone. But this Jubilee is this is probably the best bracelet that I've ever had on a watch. It's absolutely incredible. This date just so well balanced, looks the business, smooth bezel. The smooth bezel that's already scratched, but I can live with it. And of course the date and a Cyclops on the date. So yeah, those were my three that I picked from my collection. But yeah, let's wrap it up with Thomas's question. So I guess the question is, what watch would you love to add to the collection? Dave, do you want to go first on this?
Easy, and it's never going to happen. Grubble Forzi GMT World Timer.
Okay.
Never going to happen.
Not with that attitude, it won't.
Come on, mister.
Not with a $500,000 plus tax price ticket. It's not.
Yeah, we're seeing the difference here between the Scottish realism and American naivety.
Yeah.
I just manifest it enough.
You can do it. Just envision it.
Yeah, and Pete in the middle is like, right, so if I rob a bank and then got a balaclava and a shotgun, there's a high possibility I can own this watch for a short period.
Yeah.
See, now you're thinking outside the box.
Right. Exactly.
I think we're thinking maybe, I don't know, 6 months of full-time, non-stop, like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, begging on internet like some other watch YouTubers and just asking for money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's not do that.
Not going to happen.
No.
Yeah, let's not do that.
Just ain't going to happen. I've got things to do like sleep.
Yeah.
And drink wine. Nah.
Maybe you could start one of those TikTok channels where you do the NPC thing. Ice cream, good. Grubble Forcy, good.
Yeah.
Just over and over again when people donate. Could be a lot of money in that, Dave.
Are you following my channel, Andrew?
That is why we don't have to talk about it. That NPC thing is one of the wildest things I've ever seen on the internet. I just can't get my head around it. But anyway, Mark, what's your dream watch?
I will go for the Omega Speedmaster Canopus with the white gold bracelet. Again, it's over 200. It's over 220 grams, but it's perfect.
Sounds like Dave already has it. Let's move on.
Now he's paying 250,000. You know, there might be a deal to be struck up here.
Yeah.
Well, that's relatively inexpensive compared to the Grubble Force. I think it's only 55 grand in the US. But it ain't happening.
I love this. I love this. Only we're just bantering around. Only 55 grand. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I'll get back on the audio naughty step.
Pete, what's your next one? Your dream one?
It's almost. It is a dream watch. It's the most expensive I'd ever buy if I'd got around to buying it. But it is kind of realistic, and I'm kind of seeing if I can make it happen. Chopard LUC Time Traveler 1 world timer.
Okay, another world timer. Oh, awesome.
No, I don't have a world timer, so I've got to add a world timer to my collection. I've got a bunch of travel watches, all different types of travel, but I haven't got a world timer. So, and that's the one I want.
And is it in the realms of affordability, or is it another shot in the dark?
It's in the realms of affordability. It would stretch me. It would be the most expensive watch I've ever bought, but it's not an order of magnitude, even in the engineering sense, more than anything I've ever bought before. So it's potentially doable. And I've got some big milestones coming up, and maybe I can make that happen.
Yeah, awesome. Great one. Andrew, what's your next on the list, or your one that you...
So I have become quite the Tudor fanboy over the last couple of years. So my current would be the Submariner 7021.
Okay.
I love the vintage subs they have. I don't think I'd ever buy it because I'd be too scared to wear it. But if they did a reissue, I'd be all about that. I just love the vintage subs from Tudor. The snowflake, all of it's just beautiful to me.
They are good.
Yeah, I went into a place in Tokyo. It's in Shinjuku, if anybody's going to Tokyo. And the whole store, you went up some ladders. It was sort of a modest-sized store, but all they had was vintage Submariners and vintage Tudor Submariners.
Wow.
They had one case that might have the odd other watch in, but they must have had easily like 100 vintage Submariners in there. Tudor subs is incredible.
Well, sounds like I'm going to Tokyo.
Yes, it was there. It was, it was actually really. There was one street that had all sorts of cool stuff on it on the way to. You walk from from that crazy crossroads that you see on all the travel channels to Shinjuku. It was on there.
That's awesome.
Todd,
I got disappointing news from Sam, because apparently you like that Sumo GMT so much you're not going to sell it anytime soon. So that's not going to my collection. I love that one. I'm in a weird space where I'm actually really happy with my collection. So like I'm playing around with just inexpensive watches now, and like what's fun and cheap. But if I could add one more, I'm going to add to my boring Tudor collection, and I would get that Opaline Pepsi GMT. I love that thing. That's a great looking watch.
Well, that will satisfy one of Mark's criteria. It's a great honking slab of watch.
I know it is. It's so good looking.
I am quite happy to be a dinosaur. All these small watch people can just go away.
The small watch people are the dinosaurs, Mark. You're a new age.
42 millimeter, 200 grams. That's my banner. That's my hill. I am prepared to die on it.
It's funny, actually. The guys from Fratello in a recent podcast were asking the question, has the small watch revolution already died? In that they were saying that whilst they, in their sort of media personalities, are all talking about how great small watches are and how people really want small watches, all three of them in the last 3 months had bought 44 millimeter or larger Panerais. And
I was going to say, I'll answer to Peter in the comments. I'm not early for the next trend. I just haven't let go the last one. Sorry, Peter.
Yeah, so I think all fashion is cyclical, and those cycles are speeding up. And it's interesting that I almost think that we've got to the point now where those cycles are overlapping each other. So there are some people for whom the small watch revolution is continuing, and they want to go down even smaller. And I think there are some other people that have already started to respond by going larger again. You know, they've bought that 37, 36 millimeter diver and gone, nah, this is too small. This is what is interesting is people will buy a 36 millimeter diver, but Flick Flack selling a watch for a 10-year-old is 37 millimeters.
Well, it also interests me as a statistician that if the average wrist size is supposed to be 7 inches, why is every watch journalist got a 5.5 to 6 inch wrist? Because they all, you look at them, they're all, oh, on my 6 inch wrist. No, it's 7. You know, hire journalists with proper wrists, for God's sake.
No, those guys are all lumberjacks, so they're not going to be writing watch journals.
Yeah. Anyway, from that bombshell, next for me, I'm still on my Grand Seiko dream, so I'm gonna try and sell this one on eBay, and then I'm gonna try and get into another Grand Seiko. I'd love Christopher Ward GMT after reviewing that Dragonfly, but like a long-term goal, I still obsess about the titanium Rolex Yachtmaster. I just can't let it go. So there you go. There's my long-term one. But awesome. Well, yeah, that's been really cool. Thank you to everyone on the panel for joining. Thank you for everyone being so active in the comments. And yeah, we'll see you all next time on Casual Watch Talk. Thanks, everyone. Bye.